Hey, this is Marks Washington from MTC Media with your Virginia wrap-up. 49-47 win over Wake Forest. And where can we begin with a 49-47 game? I know you're going to think, how ugly did it look or what the fashion was. And it looked like an old school Virginia game. Both teams had to fight for every bit of real estate that they got, and frankly, Virginia was the one who made the plays down the stretch that ended up being the difference. But there's some key things that happened here. Virginia goes 1 for 11 from the free throw line. Yes, you heard that right. 1 for 11 from the free throw line. They missed some critical ones down the stretch. They missed their first 9. And then McNeely on the last 2, he split the last 2 going down the stretch, but it still had the door open for Wake Forest on the last play, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. When you look at the stats, Reese Beekman, again, offensively was Virginia's best player. I think Forbes talked about it. He went on like a 10-0 run in the second half by himself. He shot 9 for 16 for the floor for 20 points today. And the other interesting thing I thought that Forbes talked about was they wanted to take the three-point shot away from Virginia and make them shoot twos, which was interesting. He was talking about they're like 12th in the league in 2-point shot percentage. And he's the first coach who I've heard say that about Virginia, that they intentionally wanted to get them inside the arc. Beekman led with 20. McNeely had 12. He had the big shot going down the stretch. I believe out of the timeout, UVA was up by a point. Tony Bennett puts together an awesome set play. They get a nice screen that opens up McNeely from the three-point line, and he drained it. On the Wake Forest side, early on, Efton Reed, the big man, he was their best player early on. When Wake, at the beginning of this game, was struggled scoring, he was the guy holding it down. He finished with 10 points and 12 rebounds. Hunter Silas had 12 points on 5 of 10 shooting. I think the big stat was he only had 10 shot attempts. For the longest time, it was 3. Virginia did a very good job at being able to contain him and kind of throttle him down a bit. Again, the numbers aren't bad. The impact wasn't there. And then there was a couple of guys that I was wondering. I spoke with Bennett and Forbes about it. I asked him about it. Was the performance of Andrew Carr and Hunter Silas. Andrew Carr and Cameron Hildreth. They combined to go 3 for 17. Carford was 1 for 7. Hildreth was 2 for 10. I thought that Hildreth spent the day over dribbling. Like, he over dribbled the entire day. He didn't gain any real estate on his dribbles. Instead of getting the ball out of his hands, it got to dribble 6, it got to dribble 7, it got to dribble 8 at times, and it kind of looked like bad AAU. And when I asked Forbes about their struggles, and he did say Carr had some good looks from 3. Yeah, he had some open looks and corner threes, and he had what looked like a dunk on what Forbes said was a set play, got him to the front of the rim. Ryan Dunn just made an amazing play and got the block. But he was more critical of Cam, saying he needed to get the ball off his hands. He also talked about the last play of the game. That ball was not supposed to go to Hildreth, and Hildreth definitely was not supposed to be dribbling it up. It was supposed to come up with Salas, and then they have a set play that they run when it's a situation like that. It was about 6.5 seconds left, and they'd have no timeouts. So it's a play he said they practice 3 or 4 times a week, no timeouts, X amount of seconds here. This is what we default to. And Hildreth, who was already having a tough day, I have a basketball coming at me. Hildreth, who was already having a tough day, decides that he was going to take it upon himself to do things his way. And then he picked up his dribble, and then he got stuck. And then he did this step back off 1 foot, looks like something between what Larry Bird and Dirk Nowitzki used to do. And of course, he didn't make it, and you could tell there was a certain sense of frustration from Forbes that's what they defaulted to. And with Bennett, I asked about the physicality. This game was physical from the beginning. This game was physical for 40 minutes. And I asked him that he felt like the physicality on those two guys hurt their performance, and he said, it really is getting to the drive points, and it's right. He's right. But what he didn't want to say is, they were taking away the drive points and where Wake Forest wants to go, taking away the straight line drives, and there was a bump here, a bump there, a bump. And look, that's not to say that those should have been called. That's to say that Virginia played this game the way the game was officiated. Now, I thought in the second half, both teams played the game the way it was officiated, as opposed to doing what they did in the first 20 minutes, which was complain about the officiating, to the point where Tony Bennett got his first technical since I think his first year at Virginia. He said in the press conference, got to give Coach Bennett so much credit, because he was just completely honest about it. He said he had used an expletive because he thought that there was a travel that wasn't called. And the referee heard the expletive and gave him the technical. And when he asked, he told him that's the reason why they gave him the technical. To which he said, if they're giving out technicals for every expletive said by an ACC coach, So, but no, both coaches afterwards, and I post the post game so you can hear them. Both coaches were excellent in the post games. Both coaches spoke very candidly about where they thought the shortcomings were in this game, and where they thought that their teams were tough enough to play in this game. But I felt like Wake Forest all day, when the ball moved and they gained real estate, they were able to do some good things. But it was way too much side to side. It was way too much getting to the end of the shot clock. Those type of things truly hurt them. And when you think about it, in a one-possession game, that's the difference between winning and losing. Now, I know you can say, well, how many times is Virginia going to go 1 for 11? And the obvious answer is not many. Not many. They're not going 1 from 11 from the free throw line. Are you kidding me? But it was there for Wake Forest. And I know Forbes talked about, he doesn't like this whole talk about quad 1, quad 2, quad 3, and how silly it is and how dumb it is. And for those who cover Wake Forest, I guess regularly, you could tell they've heard that speech before. And, give them credit for being honest about it. And I thought this would have, because I know sometimes how the committee explains how they come up with the decision, this would have been a big road win, quad 1. And I do think those are the type of things that could count. So, again, here at John Paul Jones Arena, Virginia 49, Wake Forest 47. And I will see you again next week.